Welcome to Bold Talks series where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with David Berkowitz, Chief Community Officer at Marketecture Media, founder of the AI Marketers Guild, and author of the Non-Obvious Guide to Use AI for Marketing. David, great seeing you. Welcome to our Bold Talk series, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. Always glad to get to take a few minutes talking to you, Epi.
Yeah, man, it's always great to see you. It's always something that I learn from you. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. This is a short format. You truly been in marketing for a long time, ever since I know you, more than what, like 10 plus years.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
now, David, first of all, there's a lot to introduce about yourself, but just give us your background a little bit before we move into the good news that you just shared recently. So
Well, I like to say I'm an accidental marketer. It definitely wasn't the plan, and it's funny how everything I'm doing has marketing all over it because I'm like, what am I doing here? Yeah, but I started off doing editorial work at places like eMarketer, got pulled into the PR side, did corporate marketing for some agencies like 360i under Dentsu, MRY under Publicis, and then switched over more to the tech side at some bigger companies like Sysomos and MediaOcean, but then a lot of 5, 10 person startups, and so seen a lot and just been doing a lot of community building along the way. It's often been like kind of a mix between a business and a professional hobby.
nice. Well, so it's great news to hear from you. Just recently, you joined as a chief community officer role at Marketer. This was an acquisition from your previous startup that you just had before. Tell us about this journey and what made you join.
Well, I mean, I've been building serial marketers, community where marketers need marketers too. I've been building that for 7 years. AI Marketers Guild I launched just around 2 years ago to fill some of the space for marketers to connect with each other and understand how AI impacts marketing. One thing I've known for a very long time is that to do so much of what was on my roadmap and my wish list, I wasn't going to be able to do it alone. And I've had a lot of help along the way, and I've had a lot of giants' shoulders to stand on, but like to have folks who really want to invest in the growth of these communities and carry out some of the events and other offerings and just create even more value for our thousands of members around the world. It's like I was kind of keeping an eye out if there was a right team to work with, and Marketecture, the three of them who came together, Ari Paparo, Jeremy Bloom, and AdTech God. Um, just an amazing crew and folks I'm just so excited to get to work with every day.
Well, I always say it's fun to do it together, right? Especially when you're aligned and you have a same vision. This is a completely a blessing. Now, David, you've been a long time voice of marketing and technology. The perspective, how has your perspective shifted now that you're operating more with a B2B media company, serving the ad industry?
Well, I mean, for me, like Marketecture's company I've been following for a long time. They have a lot of newsletters and podcasts under their umbrella. So it's more now that there's just some cross pollination. I mean, one of the things we realized like day one of my conversations with Ari and the crew is that our people weren't really like talking to and listening to each other. And so they've got a lot of folks that are like, deep in the advertising side, and especially in ad tech, and I've got just more brand marketers and agency marketers and others who are in my communities. And there's so much like Every was the first guest on the kind of rebooted video series that I'm doing, and I'm like man, we should have had him on years ago. And it's still just part of what I'm doing along with consulting and doing some talks based on the book and things like that. But even just trying to see like how can our some of our content integrate with the incredible events that they've been running and they're planning for later this year. It's just that there's just so much now that we can go and like it's not like everyone in my community is now suddenly being subscribed to 20 different things from Architecture. It's just like the door is way wider open now.
Yeah, completely. Now, David, you when you started with the AI Marketers Guild, you've seen a lots of things going on in the business of a marketing AI. Uh, what do most of marketers get it wrong about AI? Because you have so many tools today. Um, there's a lot of copy and paste stuff, guidelines that you follow. What is it they get it mostly wrong?
Well, I think they're the biggest thing that I think they've gotten wrong in general, because there's so many folks getting it right, and I think a lot of failure is actually a good thing, because there are two kinds of failure. There's failure we go and then like curl up in a ball from, and close ourselves to the world. And there's failure that we learn from and we grow from, and so I think that for marketers that are in that first camp, a lot of the first gen of Gen AI, and who knows what generation we're even in right now because it's moving so quickly. Like a lot of this stuff really wasn't very good at all, right?
Mm.
And it was novel, but it doesn't do its job. We're seeing the same wave right now in video. If you expect to just go into like Google's new VO3 and create just like feature quality video, no, I mean it takes so many human hours to get this right and tell a great story. And so I think for marketers who were like burned by a few of the first passes of it, we see this in every wave. It's like marketers who are like, I posted something on Facebook 15 years ago and like no one cared, and like why am I even here? Yeah, like so like this Facebook thing isn't gonna go anywhere. We saw it with Web3, with all these different waves, and I think just with AI, the biggest difference is that it's changing so quickly.
Mm.
Um, and that makes it really tough. I empathize. There are always like 20 things on my list of like, I should be trying that today, but I have a job to do, but maybe it'll help me with my job. But it's like, it's a lot to balance.
Well, it's good to know that I'm not alone, right? So I thought I'm struggling. I'm doing something wrong, but I guess this is this is so difficult. Like how do we keep focused, right? I mean, there's every single day there's new shiny thing here. What do you think is the role of a marketer in a very near future, next 2 3 years? What do you think? Where that's going to be?
Well, I think so much of it is that shift from tactics to strategy. I talk a bit in the book, and I mean this in a very broad concept, that you need to be a better editor than a better writer, and that's not just about writing and editing. It's true for design, it's true for data science. So much of the opportunity right now is someone who can ask really good, deep, probing questions, and mine the most useful insights. Like those are the folks who are going to get way further ahead, rather than folks who can just like put in a prompt and take something at face value and pass it off, maybe even pass it off as their own. No judging, uh, but this is where I think like it's just new skill sets. Like I almost started down a journalistic path early in my career, but I also had too much respect for journalism. I'm like, like to really put in your time doing that work. It's really really tough to be a great journalist, and I have such an appreciation for those who are great at their craft. Now I find myself going back to a lot of that thinking 20, 25 years ago, and think like these are the skills I need more, right? Like I need to be an investigative reporter of my own data, of my own content. That's very different from how do I write the best thing today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've seen the evolution of Martech up close, and it's how would you describe uh, what it was in the very early days on a .com era versus now? How exciting it was back then, and how exciting it is now? How would you compare these two?
Well, I think right now, I mean, it's funny to get nostalgic for how things were. It's like being nostalgic about, being, in the U.S. when you just had the big three TV networks. And like, wasn't life so much better and simpler then? But this, like, we're kind of seeing things diverge in two directions. On one hand, in part because of all the machine learning and like the AI power right now, the technology is getting so powerful, right? And there are just so many things you could do with like personalization and understanding customer data and stuff that like you just never was possible before. On the other hand, we also have what I liken to some version of the tragedy of the commons, where these tools are have become so democratized and so accessible to anyone for from like free to maybe $20 a month for things that a few years ago would have been enterprise grade
Yeah.
technology. And so when everyone is using the same things to bombard everyone else, it's like, I think that in you know 10, 20 years ago in the ad industry, we talked a lot about banner blindness, right? Like you just don't see the banner that's at the top of ESPN or Yahoo.com. You're just so used to just scrolling down and you mentally avoid it. Now it's like I think there's just so much of this where even if someone connects with you on LinkedIn and there seems to be a little bit of an angle, right? Like it's just like tune it out. It's like people's guard is up, and that's going to be a really big challenge. It's just this erosion of stamina and erosion of attention.
Yeah. Talk about your book, David. The non-obvious guide to
A
using
great
AI for
one.
marketing. How much of AI do you use to write the book?
So my and this didn't come from the publisher Idea Press. This was like my own like self mandate that to not use AI in any of the writing. So go and like copy any paragraph into an AI, plagiarism checker or whatever. It's like it should be good. It's my own original work. For the planning of it, it was really useful. Like especially when I was coming up with the book proposal, some of that was written by AI based on articles and presentations I'd already given. And then at the very end, I was using Google's Notebook LM quite a bit because I was like my last week before I submitted the first draft of the manuscript. A lot of what I was doing was reordering things and seeing like, wait a second, like chapter 6 actually seems like it should be before chapter 4. Notebook LM, can you give me the pros and cons of doing so? And let's like workshop this. So that um, that kind of editorial direction and kind of like editorial partner before I actually submitted it to the editor, who probably would have deferred to a lot of my judgment on that in the first place. Like this is, I found that to be so helpful, and it was not what I expected to be doing the last week of the book, but it was a great having those exercises. And now I find it very useful when I'm doing things like giving presentations based on the book and saying like, okay, so based on what they said they wanted, like what kinds of examples that I've already created do you think, it's almost just helping me remember some of my own work better.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what how can you use this in a way that it can really um, speed up the process, give you some really good formats. And again, like I'm with you on that. And congratulations for writing the book. Now, David, I when you look at the roles of the marketers, right,
Mm-hmm.
and the role that you have now as a community chief community officer, I think there's one role that it probably is never going to go away. Like I don't truly see that AI can truly replace a human building communities, right? Unless they build a community of AIs of the robots, right?
Well, and this is where I think just the like the human relationships where like I think more and more that's going to be valued. Like we saw Starbucks try to pull back on, and Starbucks is for the past couple of decades been one of the earliest adopters of technology, and they seem to indicate they took it a little bit too far, and actually that human touch and even the barista who spells your name wrong, like it's part of the culture. And so I think that there is, like some of this, yes, AI is never going away, right? Unless we get into some like Last of Us, apocalyptic scenario here, but we are stuck with it.
Yeah.
But I think like just as we're seeing things like a lot of people getting tired of online dating and they want to meet people in person again, and just like finding ways to, well, like the warts and all version, like it's okay if I haven't seen your whole profile and 50 profile pics, like let's just figure it out. Let's have a conversation and see what makes each other tick. I think that's going to be just all the more valued, and everything so much. It's like Newton's law of every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and I think that might be a positive side effect of all of this.
Yeah, 100%. David, I'd love to have this conversation on a longer format, hopefully maybe next time. What does a word bold mean to you?
What is
A bold word, bold, a word
bold?
bold.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's right there on my screen. So, what is the word? I think bold means you're challenging the status quo, and I think bold means that you're doing something that that hasn't been done before. And to me, on my own personal journey, the times I've felt boldest are the times that I'm doing something that just makes me a little bit uncomfortable. And so once I get there and I can appreciate like yeah, this I, I don't know if I can do this, like actually doing it, yeah, it feels like climbing some kind of mountain.
yeah, I agree. For me, it's like always like when I get scared, I think that's the time that you just tap and you just say, "I'll just do it, no matter what." Um,
Yep,
David, great seeing you. Always be bold, my friend. Keep up with
you
great
too.
work. Congratulations and a great, exciting news. I wish you great success. And hopefully, we get to see each other in New York or somewhere else and break bread
Would
together.
love it.
Until next time, be great and be bold, my friend. Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers, buddy.